Recording in progress.
And let's do the 4 limitless contemplations. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semchen tamche dewa tang dewe ju tang den pa ju chik, dungal tang dungal chichu tang trawa ju chik, dungal mepe dewa tampa tang mindrawa ju chik, nering chak tang ni tang trawe tang nung chempo la ne pa ju chik. So good morning to everybody. It's lovely to have all of you. I feel like you're in my home now. And so it's lovely for me to have all of you there and to see what's going on here for me. And we're going to do the truth. We're going to do realizing the truth of what deep practice reveals to us. And this is number 4. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to just summarize what we've done because it has been a bit of a break. And then I'm going to summarize what we've done and then go on. And please feel free to discuss and to butt in because I'm very happy if you do that. The reason being that I really think that this has got to, I think that everything that I'm teaching now has got to apply so directly to you so that you actually apply everything yourselves. So I'm going to start with the ancient Chinese literature and the Hymn of the Pearl, which is a very interesting thing. And it's also interesting to see that the Chinese, I mean, they had such a wonderful philosophy and such wonderful things. And what happened to them with politics and everything? It's just so sad to me because all the wisdom came from China originally. But in ancient Chinese literature, the eternal venerable mother sent down to earth 96 myriads of her children who were originally Buddhas and immortals. Once they were on earth, they forgot their true home in paradise and became attached to fame and profit and sensual pleasures. Following their desire, they became trapped in samsara, the sea of suffering. The great law required them to repeatedly die, never before that. Remember, the great law required them to repeatedly die and be reborn and recognize the impermanent nature of their goals. The venerable mother grieved for her children. She sent messengers to remind the children of their lost nature and their way back home. The messengers were Buddhas. They prophesied that at the end, I don't know when the end is, the mother's children will experience wholeness and she will be united with them in paradise. Meanwhile, they have to endure great suffering because they have forgotten who they really are, and ignorance pervades samsara. Now, the Hymn of the Pearl story is the story of a king and queen who lived in a faraway, beautiful land. One day they noticed that the divine pearl of their land had disappeared. The pearl is the wish-fulfilling jewel, the wish-fulfilling pearl, okay? That is the pearl that can satisfy everything in us, but we don't have access to it because we've made all our own stories out of life. But they noticed that it was now gone. They told their son, the prince, that he had to go and find the pearl, and he would have to get past the loud-breathing serpent in order to reobtain the pearl. They told him, the pearl with the capital letter, they told him that he would inherit the whole kingdom if he succeeded in his mission. Once on his journey, he forgets his mission and sinks into a deep sleep for a very long time. The king and queen become very concerned that he's not returned, and they write him a letter and send it in the form of an eagle. in which they ask him to remember his true origin and purpose. The eagle alights behind the prince and turns into speech. Of course, anyone can do that with their gifts. At its voice, the prince arises from his deep sleep and remembers that he is the king's son, and he longs for his true nature and home. After a long suffering journey, he lulls the serpent. The serpent is all our negative qualities. He lulls the serpent to sleep by chanting the divine names of his divine parents. So, the Buddha nature and the divine parents, he chants that. He rescues the pearl, returns to his parents, and receives the inheritance of the whole kingdom. He has become the awakened one. Now, what the story really is about is it's just the whole story of what we've done from, when you look at it in Christianity, from being evicted from the Garden of Eden, where we had absolutely everything, which is just symbolic, of course, and they didn't understand it. And then they put a dualistic interpretation that all that happened was we just forgot who we were. And then we started to really want all our desires and everything. So we landed up being banished from our own true nature. Nobody banished us. We banished ourselves. So it's a very interesting story. And, what I love is that Dzongsa Khyentse, I've just got to find everything. It seems to have got a bit upside down here. But Dzongsa Khyentse actually spoke about this beautiful sutra that the Buddha taught. And it was called, I don't know why it's not here so easy. It was called the Good Eon. And we are in the good eon, which is so amazing because the good eon, things got all mixed up. I had them all in beautiful order. The sutra is called the good eon. Now think about this, because when I ever look at the television, I'm absolutely horrified about everything that's going on. But why was it called the good eon? Even though such trauma, because 1002, sometimes they say 1004, but 1002 lotuses will appear in this kalpa. 1002 Buddhas who will bring all the teachings of awakening at different levels. And Dzongsa said the Buddha asked many questions at the beginning of the sutra. He said, like, for example, how can a bodhisattva understand the different perceptions of all different beings? Now, that's what I'm trying to really do. Understand the different perceptions of all sentient beings, because if you can't explain it according to what sentient beings are, you definitely can't get where you're going. There's no doubt about it. And he says, how can the Buddhas have real compassion, and how can they perform enlightened activities, etc., etc.? In the end, he says, it's only a state of a Buddha mind that is able to enact all of this. So this is a very interesting thing. So we're in a good eon. Now, what happens with the Buddha's teaching in a good eon is that near the end of the teaching comes a terrible thing, because near the end comes the degeneration of the beings, and then the teaching has to be reduced. It's not that the teaching goes anywhere else. It's got to be reduced because of how the state of mind that all of them are in. It's got to be reduced. So the point is that then you'll see what happens with Buddha Shakyamuni teaching. They never ever lower, but they go to another level, another realm, while we are messing around. And only those who really understand this and really do the practices and really go forward, only those will have access to it. It gets fewer and fewer and fewer. Even when the Buddha first came, it was only a few that, for example, had access to Dzogchen teachings and things of higher teaching, because it's got to be reduced right down to the level of the people that are there. But it's called the good eon. And so when we're talking about realizing the truth of what deep practice reveals to us, we're talking about the fact that the teaching is there. And, you know, even when I moved into this place and everything, and my mind was upside down, inside out, but without a doubt, even the day I moved, I went, sat down, did my guru yoga, did my things, because I thought to myself, if I have that connection with my own nature, then I'm much better off when I come to a new place. I can see things in a different perspective. So we kind of never let that go in any way at any time. And that's what the good eon is. And also, when I was teaching you last time about the cosmology, you know, you may wonder in the light of cosmology, and I've said this, why the Dzogchen teachings are available in this particular world. Now, what Tulku Urgyen Rinpoche says is, it's only because our world is situated at the heart level of Buddha Immense Ocean Vairocana. So the 5 Buddhas are there, and right in the center is Vairocana, and right in his heart is our world system. And because of that, we have a special opportunity to go. There are unfathomable amount of sentient beings, no end of samsara, but for each sentient being individually, there is an end. Know that, because when we recognize the mind essence and become stable in it, the root of samsaric existence has been exhausted. So the minute we really connect with that awakened nature, it's not just something we just say over and over again. It's really not like that. It's really something that really works, because when you're in that nature, you see things in a completely different perspective, even all the things that are there. Like on my first day in the house, I freaked out about all the workmen and them digging my garden. And then afterwards I said, well, it's all impermanent. It's all irrelevant. It's all really nothing in the end. So you look at it from a completely different perspective, and it's really important. And I just want to say one more thing, and then we'll go back to Nyhoshul Khenpo's teaching. Sentient beings can be enlightened because of the good eon, but because samsara and nirvana are pervaded by the 3 kayas. So the 3 kayas are Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya, and you could call them essence, pure emptiness, Sambhogakaya, its expression, its nature, which is clarity and awareness, and its unlimited expression to all sentient beings. So because of that, thus everything is originally and still utterly pure. The essence of our mind is the 3 kayas. So recognizing and stabilizing this, we can become enlightened, which is the point of practicing the Dharma. So what Nyhoshul Khenpo has done is he's shown you what these 3 kayas are within you. And do not see this externally. See this in you. You've got it. You could do it. You've just got to understand it properly, and you could do it, and you definitely can. And it's so important to be able to know that, okay? So if we go back, and then I'll throw it open to what we did after this break. Nyhoshul Khenpo, in his chapter on the lion's roar, the meaning of the meditational deities, to really understand that. First, he speaks of the ultimate view. Now, I'm asking you today, are you going to see an ultimate view, or are you going to see a relative view? When we're living here, there is a relative view. But if you're going on this pathway, you have to see an ultimate view. So the ultimate view manifests from the absolute downward into the relative realms out of compassion for beings. It's not for real that it goes downwards, but we see it as going downwards, okay? And the sentient beings are stuck in the relative. So the Dharmakaya, the essence, manifests as the lower bodies, as not lower, but the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya manifests at that for the sake of all sentient beings. So that's the ultimate view. That's how it really is. So if you see any teacher on a near Manakaya level, like Guru Rinpoche, like Shakyamuni Buddha, like any of them, if you see them on a relative level, okay, they are actually ultimate. So you have to understand they are actually performing in their Dharmakaya, but they are coming down in a relative way to you. But there's no difference, for example, between Guru Rinpoche, who's manifesting in a near Manakaya, and Amitabha, who's manifesting in a Dharmakaya. There's no difference. But it's just Amitabha's compassion giving some being like Guru Rinpoche to be able to teach us and give us everything. But the relative view, if you are going to look at a relative view, it's better to look at a relative view than no view, but it's better for all of you who are really dedicated to look at an ultimate view, okay? But the relative view, you go upwards through the Dharma path until you gain enlightenment. Now, it's really good to discuss, and I want your comments on this, because from a relative dualistic perspective, Buddha Shakyamuni went through the whole life. You know, there are 12 phases that the Buddha goes through, birth, and then each of the things that they go through until they become enlightened. That's just to show us. It's not the truth of what he was. He was already enlightened. And then he underwent this whole journey in order to show us. So it's a very interesting thing. At the outer, he went through lots of lifetimes, and then they tell you about his lifetime. But actually, when he arrived as this innocent prince who was going to find his way, he really was already enlightened. But then he does the whole drama just to teach us. So think about how amazing that is for us to learn. But if you get the glimpse of the ultimate, you no longer can look at the relative level. I cannot explain it. I'll explain it in terms of me. So at an outer Bodhgaya level, Bodhgaya is where they attain enlightenment. 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon will gain enlightenment. But an ultimate view of Dzogchen, you are enlightened in the inner Bodhgaya. There's no outer Bodhgaya, you're enlightened in the inner Bodhgaya, okay, which is one's own self-knowing awareness, Rangi Rigpa in Tibetan, Buddha Samanta Bhadra. That's what we really do. Now, can we understand this? Two things happen for me, and then I'm throwing it open for you. You know, I used to go on these beautiful walks with Lama Yeshe in the younger days and everything. He was, I don't know, lots of you knew. I mean, he walked like a bomb. You know, I used to have to take like 3 steps for every one of his steps, and he was so fast you had to catch up. And then we had Joy, who was his other disciple, and she said, don't stand on the left side, stand on the right side, or don't stand on the right side, stand on the left side. She always ran around to stand where he was. And I thought, this is just garbage, sorry, but I couldn't, you know, I just thought I'm there. So this is when he used, when I look back, he used to teach me so many things on those walks. But how he did was, he'd be walking, and I'd be running like next to him, and then there'd be a whole crowd of people. Either we were walking around the stupa at Sammy Ling, or we were going on a long walk, and I was always running behind him at Cape Mountain Retreat. We did that a number of times. And then when I'd say something, like I said to him, you know, Lama Yeshe Rinpoche, I'm gonna actually construct this great big red boat. And then I'm going to take all the people that I teach onto this red boat. Even as they die, they can get onto my red boat, and we're going to Devachan. Then he'd stop, and then everybody had to stop. And he'd look at me and he'd go, oh, so you think Devachan is over there? Do you, Malini, you'd say to me, do you think it's over there? And I said, well, I don't know where it is, but it's not here. It's not here. I can't see it. He said, it's in you. It's in you. And then I began in those very early days to realize that Buddha fields were not outside. They were in your channels. They were in your bindus. They're in you. So that when you know that, you really can, you really, when you die, can go straight to wherever your mindset is. And that was one of the lessons. Another one that I learned was very much, when I do the nondra, each week I still do nondra every week. And when you finish taking refuge or whatever it is, taking refuge, offering your mandala and everything, then it goes at the end of the refuge verse, it goes, now I am on the path. Now, please, Buddhas, welcome me to your realms. As from today, I have become a Buddha. Now, when I read that in the Nondra, I always go, no, I was always a Buddha. Okay, I was always a Buddha. No, I haven't just got welcome because I did the refuge. So those two things, I didn't just get to doing it, are very important for you. I don't know if you want to ask or discuss anything there, but this is so important because where are you at? Are you on the inner or are you still on the outer? Like sometimes, Iga, you say things to me and then I can see it's your relative view. I totally respect it. But now I want you to make a leap into the ultimate view. Because when you make a leap into the ultimate view, none of the rubbish you go through in your life really matters all that much, And a lot of you get so troubled, like you, Damika, that's running here and then running there. And I mean, I don't know how you move every week, every year, every month or something. I don't know how you do it after this. This is the end. But you know what? The only way you can do that is you have to say, well, wherever I am, I will do my work. I will perform my Buddha activities. And you have to look at it from a completely different perspective. You can't think that this is a perfect thing. I think it was all so nice. And then they came and dug it in the middle of my beautiful garden. I mean, and I thought, how could they do that? How could that happen? It's just rubbish. Soon it's going to be forgotten. Soon the rain's going to come and the plants are going to grow again. And what is it? If you see it from a different perspective. So does anyone want to say or ask? Please do. Because this is maybe one of the vital points that Nyhoshul Khenpo makes of the ultimate versus the relative. Please.
Mel,
yes.
I know I've mentioned this before, but this is what like hit me. You always say there's these hitting things. It was, I think, when I was doing the Dzogchen Tantras. If your pinched nerve is still there later, just let me know, okay? Is that the ultimate view created the relative view. So when you know that, this, instead of saying Samantabhadra created this, da-da-da-da. So everything was ultimate.
Absolutely.
We created the relative. So if we can just, I'm saying me, remove that relative, if you know what I mean, and understand that everything is just ultimate, you skip or jump through a multitude of phases and belief systems. That's all I wanted to add. That really helped me, and I still do it when I suddenly say, oh, this is relative, and I say, okay, it's created by ultimate, and then I jump into ultimate. Okay.
It's amazing. And if you could do that, it's so easy. And you could see when you're stable in the ultimate that you will switch all the time. Then you'll go back to a relative view. Then you'll go to an ultimate view. It's really interesting because you be a lot more stable in that ultimate view because you've just thought, this world, I've gone through so much suffering. What's the difference, anymore? But people find it really hard when you are in it,
Mm. So I think, yeah, okay. So I'm just
Yeah,
saying anything, like when anything's going wrong, instead of like um, us analyzing it, what we do, and telling with our Melina's favor, telling ourselves stories, just know that that's relative. And if you can just let it go in that instant and understand that there's a
yes,
ultimate, then I think we release so much.
I think you
Okay.
are 100% right. And it's so
Yeah.
valid. I can't begin to tell you how valid that
Mm,
really, really, really. And I think that it's important when you are ready to embrace an ultimate
mm,
truth. You see yourself as enlightened and not recognizing this yet,
mm,
but you see yourself as enlightened and you realize that all you see out there is just a reflection of your mind. That's all
mm.
it is. It's really,
And another thing that I think don't remember kalpas or the eons, but I'm saying we say we're in the fortunate eon.
yes, we are. Yeah.
But I mean, that's like 1 billion years or something. It's not like it's,
That 2 minutes. Exactly.
yeah. So I'm saying we're in the middle of, I don't know the exact range or years. So I'm saying, so we don't need to, so we might just be in our 1 trillion or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly what you're saying. And it's so hard to
Uh,
comprehend that because we look at a
mm,
relative life. I'm trying to shift
mm,
out of a relative
mm.
life. A relative life is
It's
absolute.
hard. It's hard. It's hard to actually, when you think of it, it's actually hard to experience and to realize because these numbers are the numbers, the thoughts, everything is such a vast range. So this is me. So I'm very lazy, as I've said. So I can't get my mind around these time frames and thoughts. So then I will jump to ultimate. Okay. If that
Yeah,
helps anybody, I don't know.
I think it's
Okay.
very, very helpful
Mm,
because I think when you're going through relative pain and all the rest of it,
mm,
it's really hard, but you can jump into it. You can jump into it
mm,
1 minute. And I think
mm.
the story of the Hopi nation is such a
Yes.
beautiful story. We might have used it before, but we just do it again. The story
Mm,
of the Hopi nation goes like this. For pain, oh, thank you. Chew a clove. Oi. Okay, I'm going to look at that definitely. But that's great. But this is the story of the Hopi nation. Creation said, I want to hide something from the humans until they are ready for it. It's the realization that they create their own reality. The eagle said, give it to me. I will take it to the moon. The creator said, no, one day they will go there and find it. The salmon said, I will bury it on the bottom of the ocean. The creator said, no, they will go there too. This is their own reality. The buffalo said, I will bury it on the great plains. The creator said, they will cut into the skin of the earth and find it even there. Grandmother, who lives in the breast of Mother Earth, who has no physical eyes but sees with spiritual eyes, said, put it inside of them. And the creator said, it is done. Okay, so that beautiful mind is inside you, and you have to really, really find it inside of us. Anyone else want anything on the ultimate and the relative? Because that's what Nyhoshul Khenpo really introduces a lot of. And it's jolly difficult. It's really difficult to get there, especially when you're going through a terrible time. It's very difficult. Anyone else want anything or to say anything or ask anything, and then we'll move on. Hello, Kim. Nice to see you there. Okay, let's go on then. So we started last time with the discussion of the Dharmakaya. because it's really important to look at that Dharmakaya and know that everything unfolds out of the three kayas and goes back into them. And the comparison that he gives with the Dharmakaya is that it is like space. You can't go beyond the limits of space. It always remains. But what we were talking about is Dharmata of the Dharmakaya is like space, but the space of the Dharmakaya has the quality of clarity, of awareness, salwa, it's called in Tibetan, which gives the clarity, gives the mind the ability to know the truth. That's what Karin was talking about, to be aware and to experience the truth. We need the pointing out instruction of the Guru, but the Guru ultimately is within us. So we might just have a sudden think, oh, and it might be the Guru in us. We don't have a lot of Gurus walking around pointing it out to us, but a lot of us go on retreats and all kinds of things, and we find beautiful teachers that do point it out to us. So we do need it, but we also got the inside. But the Dharmakaya is always known as Samantabhadra. That's called the Dharmakaya. But Samantabhadra is not a Buddha out there. It's the awakened state within you, okay? And it's really important that we understand that the space and awareness are the two things that are there that are really, really important. And they are the very important thing. So let's go back to what we were talking about last time we were doing that. And I just want to mention one or two things, and let's go on to the Sambhogakaya, because we were doing the Dharmakaya, and you can go and listen at any time that you want to. But Samantabhadra has fully awakened to his own awareness, and as a result, all that exists appears to him as the Akanishta Buddha field. What's a Buddha field? Is it over there? Is it here? It's just your state of mind. You could be in a hell realm. You could be in a hungry ghost realm where you just can't get enough of it. You can be in a human realm. You can be in an animal realm where you just haven't got the say in very much. You could be in a jealous God realm. You could be in a God realm where you look at everything so beautifully, but it's really not the truth. Or you can be in a Buddha field. A Buddha field is completely different, but it is your state of mind. It's how you see things in the world is the Buddha field. And he says, we have the same awareness, Rigpa, but we don't recognize it. So Buddha Samantabhadra shows us the path through his emanated wisdom forms, which appear in limitless worlds. They appear everywhere. If you can get to a Buddha field, you'll definitely be able to see them, okay? And he says, Buddha Samantabhadra appears as all different enlightened beings and teachers, and at the same time displays various pure realms suitable for training sentient beings. It's really important that you understand that, okay? Emanating in this way, we have all the three kaya pure realms of Samantabhadra, the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. The Dharmakaya Buddha fields are known as the pure realms of the luminous Vajra heart. Well, very difficult to get there, but they're called the pure realms of the luminous Vajra heart. The Sambhogakaya Buddha fields are known as the pure realms of Brahma's thundering drumbeat. So they now are an expression of that pure space and awareness. Now there's a drumbeat, there's a pulse, and there's something expressing itself in the Sambhogakaya level, but you can't get there unless you've attained to that level. Okay, and then the Nirmanakaya Buddha fields are known as the Eon of Great Brahma, which encompasses all the possible Nirmanakaya pure realms. Now, it's quite interesting because when I've read about Devachin is supposed to be a Sambhogakaya Buddha field, that's what I understood. But now I see him talking about it as a Nirmanakaya Buddha field, which makes sense to me. Sometimes they call it a Sambhogakaya Nirmanakaya Buddha field. But actually, if it was a pure Sambhogakaya Buddha field, we couldn't get there unless we had reached the particular level. So even though Amitabha has a real motivation for us to be able to get there, you have to have reached a certain level to be able to get to a Sambhogakaya Buddha field. So for me, I think what he says here is really makes more sense to me, because he says it's a Nirmanakaya Buddha field, because how would we get to a Sambhogakaya Buddha field unless we had achieved that? Interesting. Anyway, so he says, all Buddha fields of the three kayas share the same essence and are not separated, since all are included within the Dharmakaya Buddha field, just as the three kayas are contained within the Dharmakaya. Hence, the Buddha appearing in each pure realm is not separate from the Dharmakaya Samantabhadra. The Dharmakaya Buddha field Buddha is Samantabhadra. The Sambhogakaya Buddha field Buddha is Vajradhara, and the Buddhas of the 5 families. That's the expression. And then they've got entourages, but that's the expression. So the Dharmakaya is just pure space and awareness. Then you come to the Sambhogakaya, and now you have the not emanations, you have the expression of that essence, which is called Vajradhara, which means a knowledge holder. I prefer the term wisdom holder to knowledge holder, because knowledge holder makes me think of my books. Wisdom holder makes me think of, pure wisdom, that you've got a pure wisdom mind and everything. So Vajradhara, or the Buddhas of the 5 families, and then the Nirmanakaya is the supreme Nirmanakaya, which is Buddha Shakyamuni, the Buddha of our age. He comes as a supreme Nirmanakaya, but they're never separated from the Dharmakaya or Samantabhadra. Can you all understand that? Would you need more explanation? It's really important, if you're going to do this ultimate thing, to really understand this. Anybody doesn't understand this, please tell me if you don't, because it's really important. Because that's the only way you can have a different perspective, an ultimate perspective. So the Samantabhadra is the pure essence of space and awareness. Then it expresses itself for higher beings as Vajradhara, the knowledge holder or the wisdom holder, and the 5 Buddhas. And then it expresses itself not only as the supreme Nirmanakaya like Buddha Shakyamuni, but a lot of our masters are pure Buddhas, I can tell you, and they are represented. And the Nirmanakaya can even be a pill. It can be a bridge. It can be anything, but the supreme Nirmanakaya is like Buddha Shakyamuni. If you can understand this, you really, really will understand that the other bodies are just a display, rolpa, and an emanation of the inconceivable secret nature of Samantabhadra. I want you to understand this. I don't care how many times I've got to explain it to you. Please, if you don't, tell me. If you don't get it. Dhammika, did you want to say something? Oh, okay. Anybody? Are you all okay? You all understand it? Because this is the basis of us. And it's interesting because Edith pointed out to me that when I was doing the psychology versus Buddhism and the Western psychology, then there were already 500 people that went to listen to it. These people are just listen to this, because people can't relate. You don't understand. A lot of you can relate. But if I take psychology related to Buddhism, then everybody types in and watches it and listens to it. They just can't. It's too hard. It's too much when you're going through a world. But if only people could just see that that's what takes it and changes everything from it. It's really important for you to all see that, you know, that there's, and the teachings are unlimited. I mean, the Dzogchen Tantras, there are 6,400,000 teaching stanzas, whatever you want to call them. 6 million. I mean, think about that. There's something for everybody to find if you really, really want it badly. If you want to finish now this whole cycle, like the Venerable Mother says, they forgot their identity. And now they encapsulated in that world. But if they were encapsulated in that world and it was all great, that would be fine. But it's not. They're suffering, suffering, suffering. You watch this peace process in, you know, in Gaza and in the Middle East. I mean, you know, nobody is prepared to like really give of themselves, you know, give some sacrifice so that people can be at peace. That's our world, you know. We've just got to go beyond it somehow. So let's then go to the Sambhogakaya teachings, which are very, very interesting, okay? Because when you look at the Sambhogakaya things, from the Dharmakaya, we get the Rupakaya. The Rupakaya is the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya together, called the Rupakaya. So when you see the word Rupakaya, you know it's both levels of it. The Sambhogakaya Buddha fields from the Dharmakaya, due to the blessings, compassion, and power of that state of enlightenment, boundless arrayed like lights throughout infinite space. And those Sambhogakaya Buddha fields appear only for male and female bodhisattvas, dakinis and dakas, vidyadharas, yogis and yoginis, and noble beings who are on the 1st to the 10th bhumis. You've got to already be on like the 3rd bhumi. That's the 3rd level when you're looking at it from a relative level. Only those people can be in the Sambhogakaya level. They must have reached the 3rd and 4th of the 5 paths. So the paths go, you've got to accumulate merit, and you've got to accumulate merit and wisdom. Then the unification is when you've got the merit and wisdom, then it comes together and it's called unification. And then that 2nd level, and then it's called the next level, seeing. It's when you see the truth about the Sambhogakaya. It's called seeing, and then meditation and no learning, then you're right home and dry. But what is very interesting within the Sambhogakaya Buddha fields, these are the 5 Buddha families and their entourages. So 100 deities, which is inside you. But what happens in a Sambhogakaya Buddha field is it's called the 5 certainties. Whereas when you come to the Nirmanakaya, it's called the 5 uncertainties. Because what happens in a Nirmanakaya Buddha field is up to what the level of the people are. But in the Sambhogakaya level, it's 5 certainties, really 5 certainties, which is so interesting in their Buddha field, because number 1, it's the perfect place. It's beautiful. You could call it like the Garden of Eden. It's got everything in it. Everybody's learning, everybody's caring, it's the perfect place. It's called Ganavuyaha Akanishta, or in English, unexcelled, abundantly arrayed Buddha field, Buddha field. So in other words, everything is there. You just never have to worry about fear or somebody's going to stab you or this is going to happen. It's the perfect place. Absolutely perfect. You know, not the same level as the Dharmakaya of Samantabhadra, which can only be perceived by 10th level bodhisattvas, not 3rd or 4th level. But it's the perfect place. It's the perfect form of a teacher, perfect form. It's the Sambhogakaya Buddha with all the marks and signs, like you can call him Vajradhara. But you know, it's such an interesting thing because it's the perfect place, the perfect teacher, the perfect entourage. So the Sangha is perfect. Why? Because the Sangha are just emanations from the Vajradhara. So the Sangha are already at the same level as the teacher. Then you ask yourself, well, then why would we get these teachings? Now, when I found Dajjom Rinpoche's teachings on the Sambhogakaya, I was fascinated because the entourage asks questions and then the Buddha answers the question. But the entourage is already at the Vajradhara level, so why are they asking questions? They're asking questions for us. So when I came across this the first time in Dajjom Rinpoche's thing, I photocopied it, the whole thing of the Sambhogakaya, and I put it into my daily prayer book. And then every day, it's a long thing, every day, I definitely in the bathroom read at least a paragraph of what did this perfect entourage ask, and their names. The names of the entourage are like pristine awareness, you know, all these perfect names, because they're not really beings who are looking for answers. They are the same level as Vajradhara. So they ask a question, their question is perfect, and the Buddha, the Vajradhara, answers it in a perfect way. So I always read these questions and answers. You can get them if you want the reference. I'll give you the reference, but I love to read about them because then you really see how it works in a Sambhogakaya Buddha field. The entourage is the same as the Vajradhara. So they ask questions. So it's a perfect entourage. They're all enlightened beings, but they are learning. And then when Vajradhara gives them an answer, then they say, oh, thank you, I shall always do this. But they always were doing it. It's just for our sake, okay? So the perfect entourage, the perfect teaching is the fourth certainty. The perfect teaching is the ultimate meaning, not simply the relative. The ultimate meaning of who you are is in that entourage. And lastly, it's the perfect time, because it's not past, it's not present, it's not future. It's beyond time. It's the fourth time. It's beyond the time. It's so interesting because it continues until samsara is exhausted. So what do you think about this? Mimi, you are listening with everything in your... Tell me what you think about that. It's unbelievable. You can go and find...
I'm hearing you. I'm just full of flu, but I'm hearing exactly what you're saying. And that's what you've put in various different ways throughout the years. And it's a matter of really making that connection and getting to feel it. You have to feel it. You can't learn it. And I think the more, as you say, you read those paragraphs and you try and absorb it, another little spark puts it together. And suddenly you, oh yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, exactly. And I've watched you all the time getting things because you concentrate and then you get things. It's, you know, when you think of a Sambhogakaya Buddha field, a Buddha field, I mean, lots of these great masters write about their experiences in the Sambhogakaya Buddha field. You can read about it. It's so amazing. Because wherever you are, it's just so amazing, you know. And I think too deeply. Last night, we were out for dinner at friends. I don't know how I managed to go. I was like half dead, and I had this, I think it's a pinched nerve. I'm not sure what it is, but it's very painful. But anyway, we were out for dinner. So I happened to sit next to this guy who's a pulmonary surgeon, okay? So we're having this discussion. So he looks at me and goes, Melanie, are you still working? I said, yes, yes, yes. I'm working and I'm teaching and everything. He said, So we start talking about mind, and I said to him, tell me something. You see so many people that have got pulmonary defects that can't breathe. Have you ever thought about the fact that they can't take in life from a mental point of view? He says, Melanie, I agree with you that everything's in the mind, but you can't cure yourself with that. I said, but you're very wrong. He says, if you've got cancer and it's really near the air, it's really 4th stage, you can't cure yourself. I said, well, I've got news for you. I know a whole lot of people that have cured themselves from 4th stage cancer. He says, no. But I thought at the table wasn't really appropriate to explain to him the mind that, because he says, I think everything comes from the mind. But I didn't want to explain the mind that you are talking about is not the mind that I'm talking about. You're talking about the ordinary human consciousness. I'm talking about something beyond the ordinary human consciousness. So it's so interesting because here he is, he's a pulmonary guy, very popular in Johannesburg, really well known and everything. And people go to him if you've got any lung problems or anything. And there they are. They do a physical thing, although he says the mind is very important, but he's talking about the ordinary mind. So if you've got cancer, you just submit to the cancer. There's nothing you can do. He says, I agree. Some people really want to get better, and they do. He says, but really, 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 it's the mind. If we're talking about two different, he's talking about ordinary human consciousness. I'm talking about primordial consciousness. Now, this that I'm talking about, the certainties, is primordial consciousness. It's where you go and the teacher's perfect, the teaching's perfect, the place is perfect, the time is perfect, the entourage is perfect. 5 certainties. Whereas in the Dharmakaya, I've got this beautiful, if you really want to read up a little bit more, I've got this beautiful, I've got this beautiful teaching which comes from, it's called the, just got to get the name for you, because you'll find a lot in this book. Some of you may even, I think it's called Masters. It's called Masters of Meditation and Miracles by Tuku Tondop, and he's such a wonderful teacher. Now he takes each of these things from the Dharmakaya, where he says the Dharmakaya Buddha fields are just pure. There are no words. When Samantabhadra teaches this beautiful 10th level bodhisattvas, he just does symbols. So if he picks up something like this, if he picked up something like this, the whole entourage would understand that this is something very important, and it would be no words. There are no tangible words in the Dharmakaya Buddha field. So we're not even thinking about those now. But in the Sambhogakaya, he gives beautiful ones, and he gives you all the wisdoms, and he gives you everything. I always photocopy because I'm always fascinated with all of these things. They're so amazing. Any questions, any comments? Let's do a meditation, and then let's go on to the Nirmanakaya next time and finish off this teaching, and then we'll go on to something completely new after that. Anyone want to ask or say anything?
Hi, Mel.
Please, Denny. Hello, Den. Nice to see you.
You two, it's like the primordial consciousness. Is that like the base that all the kayas come out of?
Completely. If you just look at the consciousness, you see the human consciousness, 8 levels of human consciousness, 5 sense consciousnesses, a mind consciousness that labels what the senses see, a klesha consciousness, that's the emotions that you get when you are looking at things, and I don't like this, I like this, I want this, I don't want this, you know, that's the klesha consciousness. And then the alaya consciousness, or the substrate consciousness, which has all the imprints from your whole life. And when we die, all 7 of the human consciousness die, and we left with the alaya consciousness that goes from lifetime to lifetime until we've resolved all the imprints, we've worked with them, we've taken responsibility for them, we've totally resolved those imprints, okay? And then straight from there, we are into the primordial consciousness. The primordial consciousness is really interesting because the primordial consciousness consists of the 3 kayas, which I've been talking about, and the 5 wisdoms. Now, when you look at the 5 wisdoms or the 5 Buddhas, they are the expression at the Sambhogakaya level. They are the expression of it. So those 5 wisdoms or wisdom families, which then become negative emotions if you can't see them, they are the expression of the Sambhogakaya. When you begin to understand this, you are already in primordial consciousness there, because the primordial consciousness is the 3 kayas and the 5 wisdoms. And that's why in primordial consciousness, you're in primordial consciousness in the Dharmakaya, you're in primordial consciousness in the Sambhogakaya. But when you get to the Nirmanakaya, that teacher, who would be Buddha Shakyamuni, so you've got Samantabhadra, Vajradhara, and Buddha Shakyamuni, okay? And those 3, sometimes they're given different names, but Buddha Shakyamuni can't be in the certain place. He can't have the 5 certainties. So as soon as you go to the Nirmanakaya, it's called 5 uncertainties, because it depends on the level of the people that he's teaching. So when he, so to speak, got enlightened, he said, I can't teach this because they won't understand it. So he knew he had to find a way of giving it to these people so that they would understand it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's complex though.
No, you know, it's very difficult for us to understand, but it's absolute sense. Eve, just give me that question that your son asked about the thing. It's a very, very good question. And I don't know if I answered it very well, but I tried to anyway, because I think that's such a good question. This is a young guy who asked this question, and then Edith sent it to me. Have you got it there? Just unmute, because it's a really good question for what Denny's asking.
It's on my phone, so I just have to get it off my phone, and I'll
Okay,
you see,
I can probably get it very quickly.
you've probably got it on your phone.
Yeah, I have got it. Hang on a moment. So what he asked was, he said, the question is, if there is no self, that is no enduring entity that is distinct from other people and the world around us, how can it be possible for the person that is reincarnated in a different time, different body, different place, and around different people to still be us? That was his question, a very deep question for a young guy, really a deep question. And when you look at that question, it's so interesting, because I was trying to explain, in Buddhism, we don't go with like a soul. The soul incarnates in this thing and then it goes out of that. In a lot of the other religions, they say you're a soul. In Judaism, they say you're a soul. And then when you finish that incarnation, you go out and then you re-embody again and you re-embody again, clearing up. But what is the soul? There isn't a soul in Buddhism. It's a consciousness. Okay, so like especially with higher beings, only an aspect of their consciousness incarnates. And funnily enough, only our consciousness doesn't go in this lifetime, and then in the next lifetime, and then in the next lifetime, and then in the next lifetime. Different facets incarnate, okay? And we don't remember who we were, which self we were, but we have memories of something within us, and we try and relate to those memories. But basically, we are really, really, really a consciousness. And we can't look at a consciousness like a soul, because a soul is, so to speak, when you read about it in religions, it's a one thing. This is not one thing. You may have in your consciousness, maybe you have a part that incarnates, it's got a very bad track record that's going to go through a real suffering incarnation and everything this time. And that's not the whole of you. So it's not like one self incarnates all the time. We can identify with something in our consciousness that is there, but we can't identify with this consciousness. The consciousness incarnated here, and then it incarnated there, and then it incarnated there. There's no such a thing in Buddhism. It's that the aspect of the soul, not of the soul, of the consciousness, goes into embodiment for depending on what lessons you have to learn. So that if you take people like Dajjam Rinpoche, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, they often incarnate in 2 or 3 bodies, the Karmapa, at the same time. Because their consciousness is not limited like ours to concentrate on an incarnate. So they go, oh, this is his mind, this is his speech, this is his body incarnation into 3 different bodies. Sometimes they meet one another, those bodies or speech or whatever the case is. They can incarnate in many different dimensions. And it may not all be in human bodies. And then they have other places and realms where they are busy and they are aware of it. We are dick. We're not aware of it. We don't understand. We see this limited little being. It's nothing, absolutely nothing. And when you come to the end of a lifetime, it's so important to really realize, everybody, that what am I going to extract out of this incarnation, out of this embodiment, which is going to take me beyond? And that's what I'm so aware of, because I say to myself, oh, please work and get out so that I can start focusing on what I need to focus, because this is the last section of my life. So I don't know how long it's going to be. So I need to be ready to have my bags packed to take what I need to get what I want, out of it, and move on and be complete with whatever I came to learn here. I've learned some hard lessons in this life. So have all of you. Very important, right? Like Damika, one of your big lessons is never to be attached. Because as soon as you're attached, you're miserable. You've just got to let go of absolutely everything and just move into your beautiful space. Lots of you have really got hard lifetimes, really hard. And when you've got a really hard lifetime, it's important that you can let go. So just understand, let's do a little meditation, but just understand from me. If you can if you read meditation and masters, whatever it's called, it's really a very, what's it called again? It's really, some of you have got it, it's the most beautiful book with very great stories in it and everything. And I really recommend that you get that, Masters of Meditation and Miracles, because Tulku Tundog is one of my real favorites. I have great respect for his writing and his teaching and everything. It's really, really beautiful. So the most important thing is to know these 3 kinds. This is who I am, not this person dealing with the temporary drama. Who I really am this is nothing. This is just a part of my consciousness that is embodied to learn necessary lessons so that I can return to my primordial consciousness. That's the purpose of our life. Everything else is temporary, transient, impermanent.
Sorry, Mel, could I ask another question?
Absolutely.
Like on an ultimate level, there is only the primordial consciousness. Do we have our own consciousness, or are we just like a split from the main one, like the ultimate?
Yeah, it's a good question, similar to what Edith sent me. You know what? You could say that we have our own consciousness in a sense, okay? But once you actually go to that level, in a relative sense, we have our own consciousness. But on an ultimate sense, we're all one. That's why these great masters who are really in their Buddha natures really feel the suffering so deeply of every sentient being, because they're one. In the primordial consciousness, there's no difference. When you see the 5 wisdom Buddhas, they're in you. When you see Samantabhadra, it's in you. When you see, so we are one. We are one. But on a slightly relative level, we each have our own journeys, to try and get there. But once we get there, we all one. There's no difference. It's just that what is important to understand about your question is that, and I'm going to do this tomorrow night. So those of you that can't come, let's just listen to it. Like I know in Australia, you can't get there at night. But we're going to talk about individuality versus individuation, which was a concept that Jung devised, where individuation, Jung called it your big self. Okay, that was how he explained it. But what he was talking about clearly was your awakened nature. But individuality is you as an individual. Now, the point that Rob Priest tackles, which I'll tackle tomorrow night, is the fact that individuality, if you stick at individuality, there is some amazing things about it, and there's some limiting things about it, because your individuality makes you a unique being. Imagine if every Buddhist teacher was exactly the same. You find one that you love and that you go to and that you really stimulated by, and they have a particular personality. Now, my personality as a teacher, when I see one of these quiet, really laid back, beautiful Buddhist teachers, I'm so enamored of them, because I can't even look at a video of me because I go, oh my God, look at you. It's just the passion goes through me, and it's awful to what I think, example. I mean, it's awful for me to look, because I think, why would a teacher, it's really important, the sense of a rose being an aspect of the rose, but not separate from it. I think that's beautiful. So everyone has a unique scent. Exactly. Now, in Buddhism, you don't look at the self. But, as Rob Priest says, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because, you need to be your own unique person who questions, but at the same time, you need to be part of the whole. So there is a little something that is individual, but don't be stuck on it or sold on it. We have to go into that whole individuation, which brings everyone together in one. It's a very interesting thing you're bringing up. Let's just do a quick little meditation, everybody, because I think what you're bringing up is so important. So I want you today to actually breathe in your whole sky-like nature and suddenly dawn on you. This is the Dharmakaya, space and awareness. If you want to offer a beautiful mandala to the Buddhas, to a guru, to anyone. You say, I offer you space and awareness, which is so exquisite. It's everything. But understand, when you are in trouble, when you are having a hard time, you go back to that space and awareness. But always, the space and awareness of the Dharmakaya expresses itself. And the way it expresses itself has to be pure and perfect, because it comes out of the pure, perfect state. So if we see it as ugly, as wars, as envy, as hatred, we're not seeing it correctly. We're seeing it from the projector of our own minds, which is full of conditioning, full of all sorts of things, okay? So I want you to just see it in its perfect state and take yourself into really, really enjoying your own Dharmakaya space and awareness, expressing itself as the beautiful 5 wisdom Buddhas and exquisite the 100 deities that it goes to within you. And that too expresses itself further into unlimited manifestation. It just goes on and on and on, all to benefit all sentient beings. And then it dissolves back into space and awareness. So don't get too intrigued in the expression. The expression of the Sambhogakaya is pure illusory expression or vision. Illusory vision means there's nothing substantial. It's pure, but it's still illusory. Impure illusory vision is what we could have when we come down to the expression or the manifestation. Unless we are totally aware, then it will be pure. It'll be pure illusory vision. But when we look at it, the primordial vision sees things as they are, just as it is, not with your conditioning, not with your perceptions, not with your human consciousness, just as it is. Very, very different. So when you're struggling and you're really having a hard time in your life, just go back to the original essence, which knows, it's got awareness, it knows why you're going through this. It knows what it has to do. It expresses itself as the wisdom of perfected action. Even though you're suffering, it knows what it has to go through. Perfected action. Try to go into yourself and stop seeing yourself as a limited little soul, little self in a life. Put your shoulders back and breathe into your beautiful, true state. Space and awareness. Nothing is more vast than space, and nothing is better than awareness. Full, primordial wisdom awareness. Rigpa. Whenever you need to, just come back and do this meditation a couple of times a day and see exactly how you feel. So let's dedicate to all sentient beings who are suffering. I found it quite hard to teach tonight because I've got this pain coming back and forth, back and forth. And I'm saying to myself, it's not real. It's just an expression of your mind, an expression of your tension. It's nothing. It'll be gone soon. So if I could teach, then it's beautiful. And also just to say to all of you that what's beautiful is that when I started teaching, it's open to the garden. I noticed that all the workmen went silent without me asking them, because suddenly they saw me talking to the computer. So they all went very silent. So there is some universal respect for things, when you've got them. So we dedicate for all sentient beings who are suffering, who are in the midst of wars and loss and bereavement and the terrible things that are happening in this earth plane. If there's any merit from the teaching today, through this merit, may all beings attain omniscience, may all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may all beings be freed. Sonam diye tamche pane tupne ne petranam pamshene Jegana chi balak trupaye sipe sole doa dro warsho.